Ladies and gentlemen, the Near Fall Network proudly brings to you the modern-day Micah Russia, the guru of grappling gab, the one, the only, Shooter!
Say hello to the ball guy. Welcome to another episode of Drive By with Shooter, and as always, thanks for stopping in and checking out what I do. Whatever platform you're listening to this on, before I roll into this, I just have a favor. I ask you every week. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. That helps the show be more visible to more people. And we want to grow this thing. We want to grow the podcast. We want to grow the Facebook page. Hopefully, eventually move to a website. So let's spread the word, guys. Let your friends know. If you enjoy this podcast, I'm sure you know someone who would also enjoy it. So let them know. Share the links on your social media pages and hook a brother up. Now, we have a ton of stuff to get into, and I'm just going to roll into it. And it's been a historic week in WWE. It's been a historic week for Vince McMahon and some of his employees. And we also got to talk a little bit of Royal Rumble. So I'm going to roll into this, and I don't want to hem-haw around it. I'm going to get the ugly stuff out of the way. Enzo Amore was accused, and I'm saying accused because that's all it is right now, but was accused of a very, very heinous thing, and that is he was accused of rape. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Everybody knows the same stuff because I'm sure everyone's read the same stuff. But basically, accusations came out that in October he raped a female in a hotel room. This came out literally the day of Raw 25, the 25-year anniversary. So I'm sure that was thrilling for Vince McMahon to find this out. And that's part of the problem. Now, I'm not going to get into this real deep, but this is what I want to say. He's accused. Let's not make him guilty yet, guys, because we don't know. And I'm not defending him right now. I'm not defending her. I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying anyone can accuse anybody of anything, and until it's proven in court or by an investigation by the police, we need to not vilify him. We need to not vilify her. That's not fair. That's not the way things are supposed to work. So let's wait and see what shakes out. As far as how WWE has handled the situation, I know some people were giving them flack. Some people were praising them. From what has been stated, from what, inside source, dirt sheets, whatever you want to call it, are saying, that he was initially suspended because of the accusations. And I totally agree with that. Look, whether they're true or not, an accusation's out there, you gotta do something. So suspend the guy, probably keep paying him, and let's see what shakes out. What the cops find, what the courts find, however far this goes. That being said, he was suspended on Monday, sent home from Raw, and then on Tuesday he was fired. A lot of people jumped to the conclusion that obviously there's a smoking gun and WWE knows that he did this, but that is not what how the story is shaping up. It's basically being framed that WWE is letting Enzo go or firing Enzo because he knew that these allegations were going to be brought to light. He knew that there was an investigation all the way back in October when this supposedly happened, and he did not tell the WWE. And with that in mind, they have every right to fire him. That was a bonehead thing for him to do, especially if he's innocent. If you didn't do anything, maybe, there's a lot of... I'm assuming he definitely had sex with this female, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But from the way this thing is shaping up, they were definitely in a room together. They probably had sex. Whether it was consensual or not, that's what we're debating, or what will be, I guess, examined in a court of law or by detectives to see if there's even enough to bring charges up. But the fact remains, if you were aware that there's an investigation back in October and it's now January and you didn't say anything to your boss and your company who is putting the championship on you and giving you the main spotlight, you deserve to be fired. This is the kind of stuff that needs to be made public, especially when you are in a publicly traded company, in the eye of society, in the eye of the population. You're a member of the WWE universe, and the climate in the world today is not looking fondly on such accusations, which it never should. But this stuff has come to light in the entertainment industry like no other. And here you are, a sports entertainer. You're a crossover of both worlds. You're in the public eye. You know this is a possibility and you don't say anything. You don't let the WWE have a heads up. Say, hey, this might come out. We should probably get in front of it. I didn't do anything. Or, hey, was it, hey, I did something, so I'm not going to tell you and just skate and get paychecks while I can? I don't know. And like I said, I don't want to accuse him. I don't want to accuse her. But bottom line is, WWE is handling this absolutely appropriately. I cannot give them anything but praise for how they are going about this. You know, and if it comes out that he's innocent, they don't have any reason to hire him back. I mean, if you listen to a lot of the stuff and it's true, this might be an out for them. He was kind of rubbing people the wrong way anyway, and you definitely can get rid of someone for this kind of stuff. So, you know, I don't see them hiring him back if this is, you know, comes to be a negative thing and not a true accusation. Now, that being said, like, if that is the case, if this is found to be incorrect and he did not rape this female and it was consensual, then Enzo just lost his job because he didn't report an incident to his higher ups, and that is moronic on his part and just totally all his fault. Now, here's how I'm going to end this and just move on and not forget about it, but let's just move past it until the facts come out. Here's the bottom line. If Enzo did this, if Enzo raped a female, then he should be fired, which he already was. He should be in prison, and he should be locked up for a very, very, very long time. Because if the accusation is true, and the stuff that's being said, and you can go read it, I'm not going to spell it out for you. It doesn't sound good. If it happened the way that she is saying, it was bad. Not that it's ever good when it's rape, but this just sounds horrendous. If that's true, he should rot in a jail cell, in my opinion, for the rest of his life. Now, if it's not true, I'm going to take the other stance. If this female who's, how do I want to word this, who's doesn't seem to be very trustworthy when it comes to being a witness or being, let's just say this, she has some stuff in her past that is being brought to light that doesn't make her the most believable person, and that's a problem. And I don't want to, like I said, I'm not going to play sides here because I don't know. I'm not a detective in Phoenix. I don't know the answer to this question. They will. That's what they're doing. That's their job. But if this is a false accusation, for whatever reason she decided to make a false accusation, then she should be in jail. And we don't see this. You know, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan and an Ohio State fan. And if you follow the NFL at all, you know that former Buckeye, current Dallas Cowboy, their running back, Ezekiel Elliott, was literally suspended for 6 games. Cowboy season was completely screwed because of it. It was a whole distraction. He was fighting it against the NFL, and I get where he was coming from because he was saying he didn't do anything. He was being suspended for supposed domestic violence against an ex-girlfriend before he was ever in the NFL. So he was literally being suspended for something that happened before he was employed by the NFL, which totally makes this thing even weirder. But the point of his thing was he was cleared. He was cleared when this happened. It was, from all reports, basically it looked as though this girl trumped these things up, trying to get him in trouble because basically she was dumped by him and was not cool with that. Nah, that's just what it says online. I'm not that's how it came down. The police didn't file charges because they didn't have enough information, and the information they had made it look like it was something she was concocting. We'll just go with that. But the NFL took it upon themselves to punish Elliott anyway. So as a fan of the Cowboys, I sat here and thought, this girl just said something, and by all accounts and purposes, the police cleared him, yet he's still being punished. And that pisses me off. And if it can be proven that this female is lying about Enzo, then she should be the one in jail. And there needs to be consequences for that, because even looking at it from a victim perspective, if someone's accused of if someone is an accuser and they're lying, it makes it harder for real victims to come forward and make a statement, because now things become less believable. So all in all, I guess the bottom line is, I hope this gets sorted out, and whoever is the guilty party, be it Enzo for rape or this girl for false accusations, whoever's guilty should be punished as fully, to the full extent of the law that they can be. And that's that. I'm going to roll on. I'm just going to keep going. Just keep hot while I'm at it. Raw 25 got a lot of heat from a lot of fans, and I'm going to keep this short. I know even King of Nerds wasn't that impressed. High Fiver enjoyed it, thought the end was a letdown. And that's kind of where I fall. I feel like it was a fun, nostalgic show. There were some things they could have done better, but, I knew going into it was going to be a nostalgia show and not necessarily we're moving stuff forward and mixing these guys and girls in. It's just not, I didn't think it was going to come off that way, and there could have been things they did better. But my point was, a lot of people were kind of siding with the fans that went to the Manhattan Center and said, we paid $400 to $800 for this, and it sucked. We didn't get matches. We barely got to watch, we watched Raw for the most part on a big screen TV in an arena that we paid $400 to get into. And I, while I see what they're saying, you knew what you were getting into when you signed up for this. When you said, I'm going to pay that money for that ticket, you knew, even though you might not have known the extent, you knew you weren't getting a 3-hour Raw from there, because it was widely known they were doing a simulcast. You knew part of the show would be at Barclays. You knew part of the show would be at the Manhattan Center. You didn't know how much, and maybe they should have specified it, but I don't think necessarily WWE knew until it happened. I also heard a lot of plans were changed. I heard the show was being rewritten up till 5 o'clock because of Enzo and other things that happened. There was supposed to be a longer segment with Jimmy Fallon, and he got held up and couldn't make it there in time. So it didn't come off like it should have, and I get that. But the people who went to the Manhattan Center should have had a better idea that it's not going to be all about them. It's going to be split up. I mean, I wouldn't have paid that much to go there anyway, but, Justin LaBar, who does a podcast called Wrestling Reality Check, he was there, and he said himself on his show, he knew what he was going for, and he had a fun time. He enjoyed being in that atmosphere. He enjoyed being at the Manhattan Center with it looking the way that it did. Also, every single person in there, from all reports, that bought a ticket, whether it was $800, $400, got a commemorative chair to take home with them. And I know some people are like, oh, big deal, they paid $800 for an effing chair. And I get that. But that's something special that they have that's a collector thing, and people collect those things. If you were unhappy and you wanted a refund, then sell your chair. I bet you could put that on eBay and get the money back for your ticket. So I think you can always sit back and armchair quarterback and say that could have been done different, that could have been done better, but we all know that sometimes things don't go the way you plan. Sometimes things happen, I'm sure that Vince and company was not waiting to wake up on Monday morning, plan one of the biggest shows they have planned, and find out that their cruiserweight champion was accused of rape and they had no idea. So I guess all in all, things happen, and maybe not everything comes out the way you want it to, but it could have been worse. I've seen worse shows. So I think for the nostalgia part of it, it was good, but I also think it could have been planned better. But I also didn't pay $400 to $800 to sit in the Manhattan Center and watch this. So while I say I can see their side, I also got to say, look, you knew what you were getting into. If you knew you were going to a show that was a special anniversary show, and it was going to cost you that much to get in, and you know that you're not going to get a 3-hour Raw, and you don't, if you justified saying, hey, I know I'm not getting a 3-hour Raw, but I really want to go to this, then that's on you. And that's how I look at it. I'm going to keep rolling. Let's just keep this show going, and I'll finish up with some Royal Rumble talk, but I have to. I would be remiss not to go into the fact that on Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m., Vince McMahon on the Alpha Entertainment Facebook page live stream a press conference announcing the return of the XFL. Try to give you my best, probably not my best, but my semi-okay version of Vince McMahon. The XFL was back, folks. It's going to be a little long road. We got 2 years. 2020 is the projected kickoff for the XFL. Sounds like it's going to be something that will happen after the Super Bowl. Not a spring league, but something to leave off when the NFL is done. You know, what cracks me up is I'm watching this press conference and I see, it's of course on Facebook, so you see a bunch of people hitting that laugh emoji-con. And I'm just thinking, like, you can say what you want, but damn it, Vince McMahon just goes for it, you know? Like, this guy sold shares, $100 million worth of shares of his own stock in WWE so that he can open up a new company and start something that he tried before and it failed. If that's not ballsy, I don't know what is. And you know what? It's really too early to say what this is going to be, but listening to that press conference, listening to Vince McMahon talk about his ideas, I think there's a lot of potential here. They're using the XFL name because it's already established, and to quote Vince McMahon, also because they think it's a cool name. And I agree with that. And there's nostalgia connected to the XFL, whether good or bad. And that's not good or bad. That's not a bad thing. People know the name. They want to focus on a faster game. They want to focus on a safer game. And obviously safer is smarter. That's what we need to do. And that's the way they go with wrestling. That's the way they're going with the NFL. But they want to clear this up. They want a more fun game that moves. The conference talked of having the goal of getting the game itself to about a 2-hour window. And that makes sense. You know, it's 4.5 hour commitment sometimes to watching an NFL game. Not everybody has that kind of time. I know a lot of people that don't have time to sit and watch a 4-hour NFL game. You know, I do it with college because I love college football, but the NFL, you know, I like, but it's not nearly as important to me as college football. And it moves slower than college football, so it doesn't get watched that often. So I think, you know, with everything that's going on in the NFL, this is probably the perfect time to do this. And also the fact that they announced it today, they're probably going to start moving forward with how they're going to handle this. He basically stated he's hiring people. They're hiring executives, people who know football to do this. Whether it stays this way or not, there is seemingly going to be no crossover between WWE and XFL. Hopefully that stays that way, because that's not what happened with first time, and that was stated then as well. You know, there wasn't going to be any, and I mean from a production standpoint, it was supposed to be a whole separate thing, and then Vince got his wrestling guys in there, got his, you know, Bruce Pritchard and guys like that who were creative on the wrestling side. He pulled into the football side, and they didn't want to do that. And then they were stretched too thin, and I think that's part of the reason that it failed. So I think if we can stick to that, if Vince can stick to that, and keep it a whole separate entity, it has a lot better chance of taking off. Now, the quality of football has to be there, and he emphasized that it has to be quality football, and he also wants, from what he said, quality human beings. There's going to be a strict standard. This is how you work in this league. This is what has to be in your past or not in your past so that you can be employed by the XFL. I didn't hear anything bad in this press conference. It all sounded good. It all sounded like good ideas. It all had potential. And I'm excited for it. Good for Vince McMahon to be in his 70s and still willing to take a risk. How many of us can say that? So, you know what? Alpha Entertainment, Vince McMahon, XFL, this project, as of right now, as of listening to this press conference a few hours ago when I'm recording this, I'm all in. No pun intended. You got my support. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see where the venues end up being, the team names, the players that you can wrangle, the idea of a second football league to possibly compete, not even necessarily compete with the NFL, but to give the fans a different option of watching football. And that's what his goal is. That's what Vince McMahon's goal is. That's the goal of Alpha Entertainment, to give them another outlet for pro football. And hey, they say competition makes everything better. WWE was never better than when it had direct competition from WCW. So, not that I think this competes directly, because it'll be different times, but hey, it can be another outlet. It can be another form of football, and maybe it'll change things in the NFL if things go good in the XFL, and maybe the NFL will need to start making a change. I don't think anyone's here to try to put someone out of business, because that's not going to happen with the NFL. But it's never bad to have a different option. A lot of people hate WWE, so they watch New Japan or they watch Ring of Honor, because it's a different option. It's not a bad thing. And it lets everybody have something to enjoy. And it gives more people, more athletes, be it a pro wrestler or now we're talking XFL and pro football, it gives more athletes a chance to work. And that's never a bad thing. Guys, when we come back, I have to talk about the Royal Rumble, some of the rumors, and just kind of my thoughts on where things go. And we'll get into it. Just hang tight. We'll be right back. Alright, let's get right into it, guys. It's Royal Rumble weekend, starting off later tonight with NXT TakeOver. NXT, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I don't even think it's a bad limb. I don't think it's a weak limb, it's a strong limb, but NXT almost never disappoints. Even maybe one or two times where I thought, this card might not be as impressive as I'd like it to, it turns out to be fantastic. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that. What I will say is I expect to see maybe a returning Tommaso Ciampa getting involved one way or another in the NXT Championship match. I expect Gargano to win, but this all depends on the Ciampa thing. And, if you look at what would make sense if, it was me and I was Ciampa, I would attack after he won, assuming Gargano won, to state, hey, I'm coming after you, and now I'm coming after the title as well. To come in and cost Gargano the title doesn't make sense if you're going to go after that guy. If you're going to go after the guy with the title and let him get that title. That's what makes sense to me, but yeah, time will tell. We'll see. We'll see on Saturday, or tonight, actually. We'll see what happens. Also, I wouldn't be surprised to see Shayna Baszler beat Ember Moon and take the NXT Women's Championship. I mean, I know it's been a long time coming for Ember Moon to get that spot, but man, all the doubters that started with Shayna Baszler in the Mae Young Classic and talking about how they'd be pissed off if she beat Kairi Sane and won that tournament, which she didn't. Kairi won. I just find it interesting that now everyone's singing her praises when I was singing her praises back then along with Kairi Sane. Go back and check the tape. Go check and see what I'm talking about. But I think those are two matches that stand out, at least championship matches, tag titles. I think it's time for AEP to AOP, not AEP. I'm not talking about the electric company. I'm talking about the tag team, the Authors of Pain. I think it's time for them to make their way to the main roster, so it wouldn't make sense for them to win this match. So I would obviously believe the belts stay with Fish and O'Reilly. Speaking of Adam Cole, baby, I think that could be a quality match. Aleister Black, Adam Cole. I know we kind of got this thing going on where Aleister Black, I know he got knocked out of the tournament, but there was collusion, so I don't know if that just takes away the fact that he's, undefeated. I don't know how we look at that. So, and I don't know how NXT is looking at it. I haven't got to watch shows like completely, just focusing on it, so I'm not sure how that's being presented. That being said, either way, this could be the sleeper match of the night. Keep your eyes on it, see how it goes. It's probably going to be the match of the night, if not at least in talks for match of the night. So keep an eye on that, and it's probably going to steal the show. So that's my pick for show stealer for the night. And just the card from top to bottom looks pretty solid. So it's Philly. It's going to be an awesome weekend for NXT. Moving into the main roster card, Sunday, the Royal Rumble. Again, this Royal Rumble this year, I think, some people said they didn't do enough on Raw 25 for it being the go-home show to Royal Rumble, and that was circumstances, man. It's just the way the anniversary fell and how they wanted to do it, and I think they did okay building this Rumble because it's kind of low-key on the Rumble side. They really put over this, both championship matches, both the AJ Styles handicap match with KO and with Cammy. KO and Sammy, I crack up every time he says that. And the triple threat match. Now, I mean, the obvious pick is Braun for the triple threat universal title match. It fits the narrative that we've heard since last year, right after WrestleMania, that it's going to be Brock and Roman. On the other side, I think I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know the collusion. I don't know what the story is with Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon. I don't know where this is going, and I like that, but I do see AJ keeping that title. I like to see going into, which kind of, on one hand, you think it makes it a little predictable not to see your champions stay strong till WrestleMania, so neither one of the main champs loses and walks into WrestleMania, and I like that, and I get where you can say it's predictable, but hey, you gotta look strong for the show of shows, and that makes sense to me. And they didn't do that last year. Bray Wyatt won the title at the Elimination Chamber. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things where it kind of played out in a really odd way and is what it is, but it didn't feel like it built the momentum in that match. I don't know if that's the only reason that match suffered. I definitely don't think it was, but it's definitely one of the reasons that match suffered. Because the championship just wasn't as strong as could be, even though they tried. Cena beat him clean. Bray beat Cena clean, my apologies. And everything that they did try to do to make Bray look strong leading into that match fell a little bit flat for many reasons, one of them being the build of the championship and the champion. So I think AJ retains, and I think Brock retains. Tag matches are all over the place, man. I could totally see the Bar taking the titles off of Rollins and Jordan. Every person listening and talks about wrestling can probably pretty much see the writing on the wall that we're going to get a Rollins-Jordan match possibly at WrestleMania. That's interesting, and I like it, and this could be the start of it, and it would start with them losing the tag titles. So I don't know if we do that already, but there's definitely potential for that. And then you go on the SmackDown side, and the Usos are the most dominant tag team in the company, and they're awesome, they're over. We did have the whole DUI thing a couple weeks ago. I don't know if that... See, I don't like to say that that's the reason why. I know a lot of people say, well, the whole steroid accusation is why Roman Reigns lost to IC... No, it's not. Roman was keeping that belt warm for when The Miz came back, and from what I'm hearing, they have some pretty big plans for The Miz, so it only makes sense, especially if Roman is going to go on to WrestleMania to fight for the Universal Championship. There's no reason for him to have that IC title if that's the story we're going to start building after the Rumble. We're not having an IC title match at the Rumble. It made Raw 25 a little extra special because you had that title change. And The Miz deserves it. Let's be honest. The Miz is doing some of the best work, probably the best work of his career. That's why Roman lost the belt. Because he was only keeping it warm till The Miz got back and could take it. And that's the bottom line. But when we come to the tag on SmackDown, I kind of say the same thing. I don't know. Like, if the Usos lose, everyone's going to say, well, it's because of the DUI and its punishment. And I don't know that would be the case. These stories have been in the process. I know things can change on a whim and Vince can change his mind and do this and that and the other. But, you know, that could have never happened and we could see American Alpha 2.0 take the titles. And then it could happen and the Usos can keep it. It did happen, and the Usos could keep them. So, I don't know. I just think that both teams, one way or the other, will be good champions. I mean, the Usos are proven, and I think Chad Gable's doing amazing things. I actually like the pairing of him with Benjamin. I know some people are crapping on it, but I like it. So let's move into the two big ones. And look, there's so much rumor, innuendo, things out there. You know, for the women's, is Rousey going to be there? For the men's, is, you know, the odds-on favorites are as odd as Nakamura, Daniel Bryan. I mean, not that I have anything wrong with Nakamura being in there, but the whole Daniel Bryan thing is just odd. It's strange. It's different. And I like it. So on the women's side, this is what I'm pulling. I'm going to give you my final four and who I think will win. I have a feeling the final four in the Women's Royal Rumble will be Ronda Rousey, Asuka, Nia Jax, and probably Ruby Riott. And what that's going to do is you're going to give a little bit of rub to Ruby Riott. They seem to really like her. She's a really good worker. She's doing really well with the limited stuff she's been given on SmackDown. Make her look strong. Nia obviously has to look strong. And obviously if Rousey does debut, and this is a big if, she might not even be there. But if she does, she's going to be right in there in the mix. Now, the winner, I think, is Asuka. And I think a little sign that I'm taking, and again, this is just me picking things apart and looking at it from the way that I do, from watching it for as long as I have, but WWE announced that Stephanie McMahon would be a special guest commentator for the Women's Royal Rumble, and to me, right off the bat, I'm like, well, that's weird, because Steph isn't a commentator. She really doesn't have any reason to be out there at the ring, and like, if they said, like, Lita was a special guest commentator, that makes sense. Steph, not so much, but it is what it is, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But what I foresee is if Ronda Rousey is in this and Stephanie McMahon is out at ringside, we can't forget the interaction they had at WrestleMania a few years ago, and we can't forget that they could be building something there. So maybe we get Steph at the desk, they're down in the final four, she's not having Rousey having a chance to win that, and somehow, some way, she gets involved, distracts Rousey, lets maybe Nia and Asuka, or 1, 2, 3, maybe all three, or whatever. Even if Ronda's not in the final four, like, Stephanie causes her to get eliminated via distraction, whatever the case may be. Now you've got a whole setup where you could have a Stephanie McMahon versus Ronda Rousey match, or Ronda and The Rock versus Triple H and Stephanie. However you want to do this thing, you could do that. And I think that's one possibility you really have to look out for. Now, I think Asuka wins. I'm picking a SmackDown guy for the men's, so I think to counteract that, if we're going 50-50 booking, Raw has to get a win. And I think the only logical choice is Asuka. She's undefeated, and I don't buy into this, undefeated in singles, but if she loses a Rumble, that affects her record. I don't buy into that, because the Rumble match is a different thing. It's not the same as individual competition. However, it would add a lot more to her to be not only undefeated in singles competition, but also win her very first ever Royal Rumble. So technically, she legit has never lost any single time she stepped between the ropes to compete. And they can continue that in with the mix match challenge. So, it's really interesting on what they can do and how they can do that. So, I'm gonna go with Asuka winning and keeping her streak alive and just lighting the world on fire, with Ronda possibly competing with Steph again, so if this all gets set up, and then their paths will cross down the road. But really, the money match with that is Ronda and Charlotte. As much as Asuka, she's been doing the armbar and all that jazz, I just think the money is with Ronda and Charlotte, and I think that's where we'll get eventually. Let's not rush this, assuming Rousey is in-house WWE. Now, when we go over to the men in the Royal Rumble, I have to say it's a little bit tougher. There's a lot of weird odds out there. I think my final four are going to be Nakamura, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and who else are we putting in there? Nakamura, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and maybe John Cena. Because then you're gonna have, because if those are the four left in there, everyone's gonna automatically assume that Nakamura is not gonna win. That it's Roman Reigns, and at worst it's John Cena, or at worst it's Roman Reigns. At best case it's John Cena, because I think people would actually rather Cena than Orton. I could be wrong. And then Nakamura somehow overcomes the odds and wins. I don't know. I could be way off on this, but that's probably for now my final four. That could change. That could definitely change. But I think out of the crop, out of the odds leaders, you got Daniel Bryan leading the Vegas odds along with Nakamura, and I believe last time I looked, I think it was Orton, Nakamura, and Daniel Bryan were the three leaders to win the Royal Rumble, all SmackDown guys. And the weird one, of course, is Daniel Bryan, and I just don't know how I feel about that. Even though Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio that WWE hasn't cleared Bryan, but he wouldn't be surprised to see him in a Rumble and possibly win, but not take any bumps, and then we'll see what happens, whether he gets cleared or not. Look, I in no way, shape, or form believe that if he isn't cleared, he's stepping in that ring to do anything other than referee. And I think that's even a stretch. That's why I think this whole thing has been a big work on everybody. But maybe I'm giving WWE too much credit, but I don't think there's any chance in hell they put Bryan in a position to win the Royal Rumble without knowing he could compete at WrestleMania. That just doesn't make any sense to me. It's too big of a risk, especially with the love the fans have for Daniel Bryan. Could you imagine if it would be worse to have him win and find out he couldn't compete because they won't clear him, and then scrap the idea that he has a WrestleMania match, then put him in the Rumble and have him get tossed out and lose? Honestly, that would be worse. To have him win and still not have him fight at WrestleMania, that's way, way worse. And I just don't think they're that freaking insane. I don't think they're that crazy to let Roman win in Philadelphia again, but who the hell knows? It's still a possibility, guys. It's still there. It could happen. But all that being said, I'm excited for Royal Rumble this weekend. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good pay-per-view. There's going to be surprises. I think we're going to see some fun returns on the women's side, some debuts on the women's side. Hopefully some fun returns on the men's side. I don't know. Maybe some debuts. Maybe Ricochet shows up. Maybe EC3. There's lots of talk of that. Maybe a Bobby Lashley. I don't know. There's a lot of things at play here. I'm going to do my best to stay away from as many spoilers as possible, because I just want this Royal Rumble to feel as fun as the Royal Rumble usually does, because this is one of my favorite pay-per-views. It probably is my favorite pay-per-view, and followed by WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is a spectacle. The Royal Rumble is just a fan favorite because even when you think you know, you don't necessarily know. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Probably be doing a review and post it up here on Monday. So check in with me for that. Give you what I thought of the show after it happens. Of course, I'll probably be doing a live stream on our Facebook page, Nearfall Network, facebook.com/Nearfall Network. After NXT TakeOver, I will probably be handling that for the page. So if you want to stop in and chat, let me know what you thought of the show. We'll talk about it, we'll discuss it, and we'll go from there. Guys, I say it every week. It's been real. It's been fun. We'll catch you next time.